Welcome to today's live webcast on business disruption. This episode this week is on sports entertainment and specifically the online gaming world and esports. My name's Steve Waite, I'll be your host today. For those of you that don't know about the Business Centre, we're a not-for-profit organisation, been around for about 35 years, helping businesses through providing business advice and practical education in collaboration with industry experts and partnerships with local, state and federal government small business programs. Today we're pleased to say that the New South Wales Government's Business Connect program has allowed us to bring this small business disruption webcast to you on esports and sports and entertainment as an industry sector. So over to our special guest today, Jackie. Thank you so much for preparing for today.
Thanks for having me.
And for being with us today, and we're really keen. And I think I've done more research for this webcast than any to understand it, so we're really wonderful to have you here. So Jackie is the founder and CEO of GGWP Academy, which we as understand is in the gaming world is good game well played, or GG well played.
Indeed.
Okay. Which Jackie began a while ago, but I think best to describe what your business is by taking a quote from your website, which says, "You and I, we have a hunger to learn. It's in our blood. Joining the Academy gives you access to a suite of pre-built training modules crafted by the gaming gods themselves. We've mastered how to get into esports and gaming like a grandmaster, from gameplay to personal branding. Learn to monetize your audience no matter where you're starting from." So that's the background as to why you come about, and there's a bit of a story to that.
There is.
That we'll get to. So for many of us though, gaming and professional online sports and gaming professionals and gamer leagues is an unknown world. It certainly was to me in regards to what I knew about it. It's a nascent industry, but it's rapidly growing. And I think a sign of its sure potential being the entry of Amazon into the space with the introduction of Twitch Prime, a premium gaming and video subscription channel. Amazon Prime membership lets you into a video of community for gamers, of which I found out what a shoutcaster was from someone that I followed in another industry that's moved across into this industry. So to emphasise the scale of what is known as esports, a recent Business Insider article estimated that esports revenue is expected to surpass $1 billion for the first time in 2019. So it brings us to our guest a little bit more, and you're here today to give us your insights, your experience and your knowledge and your journey into this rapidly evolving sector. So Jackie, the idea for GGWP Academy was born and based on your personal experience as a gamer, but also your family being a gaming family, but more significantly your son, who was a gifted gamer and who you found accelerating into a world, an online world, where he made, through these unique skills and capabilities, $15,000 in a year. So you thought, hold on, this is getting a little bit serious. So that's where your journey began. That then became a reality, and we're going to look in a video at a moment of that, where you successfully pitched to the Adidas Families Foundation accelerator for sports, traditionally an accelerator for innovation in sports, but you came at it from a very oblique angle of esports and online gaming, and through that process you went on to launch this company. But the video we're going to look at is the process you went through, a competitive process, quite onerous as we understood. Hundreds of people applying for it and eventually 9 getting into the 2018 program, of which you were one of the successful people, which took you to Berlin for 4 months away from your family to develop the idea. You were invested in with a significant first round investment. But we're going to look at this at last year's 2019 tournament, look at that video and get a sense of the origin story of your business and esports. We'll have a look at that.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Lead Sport 1 Accelerator Demo Day 2019. Tonight we will witness the graduation of 7 startups from all around the world.
Lead is a sports tech ecosystem. It's a great collection of founders, entrepreneurs, partners, sponsors in the sports industry.
They basically just help you grow and help you take the business to the next level.
You can't underestimate the ability for someone who's an entrepreneur to spend 3 months with other people that are all doing the exact same thing under the exact same struggle.
Demo Day is mostly for the investors. They really see the growth and the progress, and I think this is the key moment for people to realize what we're doing and if they want to take it to the next level and invest in us.
Millions of fans on one stage at the same time.
There couldn't be a better time to enter the market.
We wanted to take it one step further.
It's micro fantasy, it's only on Champions Round.
Join us, play for us.
So we are digging, connect the world fans.
Stop cashing out and start profiting.
Just impressive of what I saw tonight from all the startups. And it's incredible to see where technology is taking sports and the evolution and the creativity and the innovation that is coming out of the LEAD Accelerator.
From a very good idea to a working business model, it's quite a ride, and I guess LEAD creates the perfect frame for that.
It's the culmination of an amazing 12-week program for the startups, but it's very much the beginning of their journey, and from today we hope as LEAD to help find them the investment they need to take to the next step, and they begin their life on a journey of hopefully being incredibly successful entrepreneurs.
It's known to be almost the online gaming capital of the world. It's where a lot of it happens. But we're going to pick your brain today in 3 themes that I sort of gave you a bit of a heads up about, and that will allow us for you to uncover for us. 1, a definition of esports, help us understand it more. 2, giving us a sense of what the fast-growing industry is and getting into the ecosystem of it. And then 3, how do you run an esports business, and how can people become part of that sector, either as a B2C, B2B, in some way being part of it as an area where they can develop their own business and selling products into that sector. But the first question we always ask everyone when they arrive here is, what in the hell has this last disruption to the world that you've operated a business in this industry sector, what's it been like for you, Jackie?
Thank you. First of all, I mean, COVID-19 has obviously had a major impact on businesses everywhere. Yep. Bricks and mortar, I think, more so than anybody else. Yep. It has obviously left people with a big challenge in terms of, how they run their businesses, how to move forward from here. Yep. For us, it's actually created the perfect storm of eyes on screens. I'm sure you would have heard things like, Twitch viewership being up and everything right now. Yep. For us, this has actually been a really good time for us to launch. We've only been in the marketplace for 6 weeks. Yep. So it's had a positive effect for us. Yep. Unfortunately, I'm still seeing posts of friends, business owners who are going through the heartbreaking process of having to either pivot in their business or having to shut down. Yep. So it's interesting to see how the marketplace is shaping up right now.
Okay, so Twitch, which I only joined about 4 weeks ago through Prime and Amazon. So just before we begin to take a deeper dive, what is Twitch?
Sure. So Twitch allows gamers to essentially share their gameplay with an audience and to build a community around their content. So it's a place where they can build their subscriber list. They can have their audience actually subscribe to them monthly. Yep. They can have their audience, interact with them and chat with them while they're playing their game. So you might have somebody who has only 10, people in chat who are discussing what that game's about or what's going on in the life of that gamer. Yep. But then you might also have these much larger game streams that have, 500,000 sitting there talking, and it gets very difficult to read that chat. But
okay, yeah. So in Australia, those that are involved in gaming and esports would know characters like Ninja, and Anna Pham, people that have genuinely. I think Ninja, for example, Blevins Taylor has made, I read, $500,000 US a month.
It's big business.
So monetising and us getting onto that, and that's the sort of next question that I want for us to start looking in. So some of the key terms that I understand and that you may be able to help us put together a little bit more substantially are, gamers, streamers, influencers, teams, stadium tournaments, viewer donations, and one that intrigued me that we might start with is a shoutcaster. So tell us a bit about how a shoutcaster fits in, and then maybe take us through to the gamer and the professional gamer and the tournaments and the industries, if we can unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
So how does all that, let's start with shoutcaster.
How does it work?
Yeah, so what's a shoutcaster shouting about? What are they doing?
A shoutcaster is somebody who's actually calling the game. So if you might have two teams competing in CSGO or in Overwatch or COD or Fortnite, you'll also have a shoutcaster who's doing the broadcast, somebody who is leading the charge in terms of what the gameplays are, who the players are themselves, and also providing that wider chatter or discussion around what's going on in the game at the time. There's a couple of different angles there, but that person is there to create a dialogue or a narrative around that match.
Yeah. So, and then there's the gamer. So they're the athletes, the competitors. What was the personal journey you had? Because that'll take us on to something we want to talk about your game, your game business. But tell us a bit about what's happening with the players, and what was the journey for your son, and the gamers.
So we've got professional athletes now, esports athletes, who are. They're earning money. They've monetized their career in gaming.
You said their teams. They've got physiotherapists, dietitians.
Correct.
They've got accommodation,
personal trainers,
facilities.
It's amazing to see the kinds of facilities that they've got. There's now also the Esports High Performance Centre. There's a bunch of these people surrounding themselves and really building out a proper professional ecosystem around esports. It's very different from the casual gamers and influencers that you might see. So there's a differentiation between obviously esports and gaming.
Let's unpack that then.
Yeah, so gaming is more the casual entertainment aspect of it.
Which is a marketplace as well?
Correct.
Yeah.
So the people on Twitch are casually gaming mostly. You'll find that there are either niche streamers, people who are very good at their game, and people watch them so that they can learn about that game. You'll also find somebody who is maybe more personality based, who is there to entertain. People come to watch them for their entertainment, for their personality.
Wow, okay.
So there's a couple of different types of streamers, but yeah, there's variety or niche.
And then we get to the esports, and we were talking about the Fortnite Open, which sat between the AFL Grand Final. It was up, and it was a stadium event. So for any small business wanting to get involved in this sector, that would have meant people, it would have meant transactions, it would have meant merchandise, food and beverage. So what are those tournaments like? What's going on there?
Esports in general, I mean, they have a number of different ways of delivering what they do. So at the very grassroots level, there's online competition, there's LAN events, there's smaller aspects that are a little bit more localized to where...
Local tournaments.
Yeah, exactly right. Also in terms of high school esports and college esports, you'll see that there's some tournaments around those educational campuses. So when we're talking about esports, I mean, I'm trying to make sure that my words are at least making sense.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm at a loss for words.
Well, let's come back to the Orange Ocelot, which is your son.
Yep.
So how did he progress through that world? How did it happen? Was it an accident? I mean, you're a gaming fan.
I was personally a casual gamer when I was much younger.
Yeah.
And my son, I mean, we're old enough now to be the gamer's parents.
And this is what you're saying. There's a new generation of gamers. Yeah.
It's the first generation where parents have actually been okay with gaming, I guess.
Yeah.
And my son, at the age of 9 years old, was competing at a world level.
Yeah.
So I started teaching him how it was that he needed to build his personal brand, how he needed to conduct himself online, particularly when it came to streaming and things like that, the types of words and topics that he could and couldn't use. So teaching him how to actually do the business side of esports and gaming. But he started competing at that age at a world level, and there was a lot of challenges throughout that in navigating esports. It's pretty much like the Wild West, and so there was no structured pathway to reach success. Through that process, I started building training modules that would teach people how to actually navigate that process.
And this is how your business model came about. This is what found you eventually ending up in Berlin that 4 months. So the sorts of things you're trying to address, and this is where we might go to our next question, which is to look at us understanding this industry and this ecosystem a little more. So you wanted to come up with something to create a safe and effective way of your son being in that environment. So you were addressing things like health and physical health and mental health, online gaming security, and a positive online presence. So what did your business model do to do that? So you created modules, but what else? People arrive at your business, and what do they gain from being part of your business or a customer or involved in it?
So at the moment, we are actually curating a community, something that supports the other people within that ecosystem, so teaching them as well as supporting them in the wider sense. I mean, gamers have traditionally had such a stereotype around them, but nowadays with esports obviously coming to the forefront, a gamer is more likely to have an Instagram account where they're taking gym selfies than they are to be antisocial and sitting in their mum's basement, the way that some people think.
Exactly. In dark rooms.
With their Doritos and Mountain Dew.
That's the one.
So, I mean, things have absolutely changed since that stereotype was around. But we really want to make sure there's a holistic approach to their mental and personal physical health.
And then, of course, if someone is entering into it in a serious way, which is quite legitimate, as we've, I think, established that it's a genuine industry with its own opportunities, then you also help people around monetising that, because there's a whole set of skills and tips and information and knowledge they need to be aware of. So what are those things around monetising your career or the opportunity you've created?
Yeah, for sure. So obviously when it comes to actually competing in esports, you need to ensure that you have the talent to do so. That comes from a great deal of training and the right kind of training. It isn't just about the amount of hours that you're grinding. It's also about the quality of that training and whether you're engaged with a coach or whatever else.
And around monetising?
The monetising aspect, look, there's a number of different ways that it can be monetized, I suppose. Did you come across some of those in your research as well, or?
Well, I'd like to hear more, not as much, because you said it could be multifaceted.
It can be.
It's not just monetary exchanges. There are other ways of people getting value of their participation.
Yeah, for sure. So in esports, there's a lot around sponsorship. That comes from a lot of major brands moving in to work with media companies and teams. You've got cars now sponsoring, so car brands. There's
food and beverage.
Food and beverage for sure. People like Kit Kat and Snickers and huge amount.
So one of the things that I shared with you that I understood was that gaming and people being online gaming is now up to the levels, I think it's about 89 minutes a day on average, which is up at the same levels of what people have been watching free-to-air television at. So just in terms of the amount of people that are sitting in an online presence, available for advertising, available to see products, is that the type of thing you're starting to see more of now?
Absolutely, for tournaments, online tournaments, you're starting to see that for sure, as well as streamers as well. So you're starting to see it also going down towards like a niche marketing. Even working with smaller streamers, it's okay for brand sponsorship, for brands to actually engage those smaller streamers, because they're starting to see a better ROI, I guess, on engaging those smaller streamers that have maybe a more loyal and engaged audience.
So let's take a bit more, move on to our next question, which is to, well, how do you run an esports business? And you've shared with me some of your information. So it goes anywhere from microtransactions through to, as you say, collaborative and defined sponsorships, like you've got a collaboration with Logitech, which many people would be familiar with. So tell us, just break down for me that microtransaction money stream. How does that potentially work?
So all of the different revenue streams that you can find, for us, it's around co-branded, sponsored content. So we're starting to put together educational content that is co-branded with Logitech.
Wow.
That would be available on our platform. Other ways of monetization is obviously with influencers, connecting influencers with the brands that want to engage the space. And for those streamers, you'll see their overlay on their stream. They may have different brands popping up, or they may have every single week they do a FIFA stream that is completely sponsored by a particular brand. So there's lots of different ways that you can kind of monetize this. You can work at events like PAX. Unfortunately, it's cancelled this year. But there's another opportunity to actually work in the physical space and earn money that way as well.
But the sheer scale of transactions that be going on at any one time could mean you'd be looking at, very small amounts of transactions for income in regard to what you're doing. It's just setting up a real defined business model that allows you to exploit each of those parts of the business model that you've established.
And mainly it's the top 1% that are earning all of that money as well, which is one of the things that we're seeking to change. We really want to educate the market and help connect those niche streamers with the wider audience and wider audience of brands as well. So we would love to expand the top 1% of earners to the top 10% of earners.
That's right, because as I understand it, there are people that we've mentioned earlier that are making an awful lot of money as athletes or high-level influencers, but there's about a range of 5% that would be making the equivalent of a wage, a normal working wage, but you want to take that a bit further and expand that a bit further, given your son's experience. So what pathway would your son or someone like your son be on, typically, through a period of time to get to that point? How would that look?
Look, the journey is around 5 to 7 years. So, when you see in the media this overnight success, it just generally isn't true. You're looking at least 5 to 7 years to build up that kind of an audience that is worth leveraging for sponsorship with a large brand.
So that takes time, which is like any business model. So for you going forward, what does that look like for the Academy? What does it mean for you in terms of your business?
For us, it means education, education, education. We really want to make it a smarter ecosystem. We'd like to take all of the users, all of the audience, and really let them know exactly how it is that they can personally brand themselves, how it is that they can conduct themselves online, and do that obviously in a healthy way. For esports in particular, and as well for streamers, there's also the aspect of burnout. They tend to, get 2 years into it. They're not seeing the kind of progress that they want to see. For esports athletes, you're looking at about anywhere from 5 to 7 year career.
I was going to ask that question. It intrigued me a little because obviously we know that Fortnite and Fortnite Battle Royale exploded. I think there's something like 125 million global players. But just explain to me, how does that work? Because at some point, people necessarily, and I know that version 2 of version 1 of the same thing, but when they release a new game for people to play and to become champions or elite at, are the skills, the athletic skills, the micro skills that they have, are they transferable, or does it take some time when the next version of the game is out for someone to become the champion, or can they transfer the skills across? How does that work?
I think that there is definitely a level of transferable skills and reaction times and things like that that go into making somebody good at one game and then good at the next game.
But do they change the game so much that someone that's very good at one game, does it mean that everyone's off the same level playing field when they release the next version, so that you're going to get them at a novice level?
So you're talking about different seasons within the same game?
Thank you. I'll get technical term. The different seasons within the same game. How does that work?
Look, I think that just changes your strategy mostly. There is definitely some aspects of having to get used to new features and things like that. But I think that they're always working to try and soothe the beast and make sure that the viewers and the audience are happy with the game as well.
So people aren't failing and not progressing. We've got some questions coming up, but before we do that, there's another thing that we touched on, that you said you don't have a broad sense of it from a technical perspective from government or regulation, but it's something I just wanted to share, and it's something that came up as a result of loot boxes and how the commercial providers of these games, and the ones that I'm talking to here are Star Wars Battlefront 2 and Jedi Fallen Order, where within the game the companies are putting loot boxes in to monetize that. And so generally speaking, what I'm saying is, just like with online gambling, regulation is eventually going to catch up with the gaming and the esports industry, and you'll be covering that, I guess, in your business, and you'll educate people about where you're going and what the regulations are. Is there any comment that you've got on that?
Look, I think there's going to be a lot of regulation across our industry on both sides, gaming and esports, over the next 10 years as it solidifies into a professional industry.
Yes.
You know, it's still very much in its infancy at the moment, so still kind of finding its way, but the regulation overall is definitely going to change a lot in the next 10 years.
And there's already betting going on on athletes in tournaments and on teams in tournaments already in the industry, isn't there?
Yeah, and there's already scandals around how, you know, how that's worked. And I mean, I suppose that's in any industry too.
Or in any sport, yeah. Okay, we got some questions. All right. Dave from Wallsend, my 13-year-old daughter is a gamer mainly from her bedroom. What is her first step to becoming a professional?
I guess there's a couple of first steps.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that number one, they have the ability to do so. So, you know, it's about taking an honest snapshot about whether this person is going to be able to be an entertainer, whether it's something that's worth watching even. And I mean, I know that's a hard thing to say, but it's something that you need to do at the beginning of a content creation career. You need to be able to build a personal brand, which can include things like logo, it can include even the colours used, the overall content style.
Like your son's, his tag gaming name, even that's got an insight into it, hasn't it? Just want to explain that. So Orange Ocelot is a reference to what?
It's in reference to the Minecraft ocelots.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So to that level. All right. Another one we've got, which is a really good question. Jane asks, how much can pro gamers get paid? I think we've touched on a little bit, but have you got any other stories you can share in that area?
Look, that is such a variety of question. I mean, it really depends on the level. More and more so, we're starting to see those niche gamers who are starting to earn more just purely because they have tapped into a great network of people through brands or whatever. So it's still, there's nothing standard in this just yet.
Okay, another question we've got is Chad. Are there any Australian esports tournaments I can attend? So I've named one, but
not this year.
Not this year. No live ones. But what would that look like in a traditional year?
Look, IEM is typically one of the biggest that Australia has, and I know that that's being merged with MEO in Melbourne. I would say that that's probably one of the best and most prestigious that we have. And attending things like PAX, there's always tournaments that happen at PAX, and. But you'll also get a wider group of people to network with as well.
What's PAX?
PAX is a gaming convention. Unfortunately, in the last 2 days, it's just been announced that they won't go ahead for this year. But they typically it's a 3-day event in Melbourne. And they typically get around 40,000 people through the doors. So you'll have everyone from Logitech to Razer, you know, all of the major gaming brands there, as well as panels so that you can learn. I really enjoy the panel section of PAX. But most of all, it's about community. So there's always this misconception that gamers are antisocial. But you attend something like PAX and the amount of people who are seeing each other for the first time all year, running and hugging each other.
Based on a really deep relationship.
It is brilliant.
Brilliant. Okay. Aiden, Adamstown, can I get your son's autograph? And who is his favourite gamers, esports athlete?
Who is my son's favourite? He's got a few. He likes the FaZe Clan. Pretty much all of their content style seems to appeal to him. But he also watches a lot of the Click Management Crew, which is an Australian-based organisation. Laserbeam, Creator, people like that as well.
All of this means absolutely nothing to me, but excellent. Okay, Wendy, what type of companies are sponsoring eSport professionals? Do you have any tips for approaching sponsors? Well, you've done that. What was that experience like? How did that happen?
It's definitely a professional skill that I've brought through to help my son. And something that we're now working on. Actually, in the next few days, we're releasing a tool. It's going to be a sponsorship deck that shows everyone how it is that they can approach a brand. And I mean, it's about making sure that those brand alignments are there. So if you're somebody who loves the Logitech brand and you're using all of their gear, obviously they're going to be an alignment that you want to approach.
Yep. Yep.
And typically you would use things like networking at PAX. You would go and you would want to meet the people working for Logitech. You would want to show them, that you're there and you're willing to help and, really sort of making sure that alignment's there with that brand.
But for you, given your experience, your own career experience, you took a reasonably sophisticated approach to that, so that when you were going to a Logitech, you'd already, I guess, determined throughout that pitching process what value proposition you had for them.
Of course.
So it's not just a matter of going to them and say, can I have this? It's you say, I've got this.
Yes.
How can we work together?
You've always got to, when you're pitching a company and you're asking them for something, you always need to ask what's in it for them.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to show them, what numbers you can provide them, what kind of eyes you can provide them.
Yeah.
But also the style of content needs to be, as I said before, in good alignment with their brand.
Yeah. Okay, we've got some few more questions coming through, but I want to get towards our last question in our conversation around, what tips would you have for people to get involved in the industry? And we've spoken about things like, through microtransactions, the pay to play or the pay to watch or the merchandise, B2B or B2C, bespoke sponsorships, food and beverage or clothing, etc. So, tell us a bit more about that. For people, if they did want to get involved in this industry, what would they have to do? And perhaps what would be a really bad mistake about, thinking you can just jump in here and say, I want to sell this to you?
I think that's probably the first big mistake you can make is just not knowing enough about the industry itself.
Yeah.
I would suggest, obviously, working with a consultant, somebody who knows the industry.
Yeah.
I would suggest attending events so that you can see it with your own eyes.
Yes.
I would suggest networking with the people who are already on the ground and working in that industry.
Yeah. Are there any forums or associations or like an industry association? Has anything developed along those lines yet?
Not overly at this point.
Yeah.
There are definitely Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, all of these groups that exist. There's a number of different little pockets, but there's no one overarching networking space for it.
But I guess with, as we say, Fortnite Battle Royale with 126 million players worldwide, that's a marketplace. But as you say, you can't just approach that marketplace naively thinking you can sell something into them if you don't know about them. So who are the players? What are they typically? Who are these people?
Okay, so you're looking at a very underserved market, a market that is typically via marketing standards very hard to reach. So you're looking at this young male demographic, obviously.
Young male, what do you mean? What age group?
So we're talking anywhere from 14 up to 28, and probably skewed maybe 65 to 75% male. And typically by marketing standards, those people are very hard to reach with marketing campaigns.
Yeah.
And so it makes them a very lucrative audience to want to market to. And one of the great things about being able to reach them, I mean, obviously this is an industry that is very interested in working with these people. And that particular audience are interested in things like the cars that I mentioned earlier and the, I think, where did I see the recent partnership with Head and Shoulders? I think have just partnered with maybe G2 Esports, or I'd have to double check which team it was, but there's so many different brands that are now accessing that and getting some great results from it.
Okay. John, do you see, here's a question from John, do you see traditional sporting clubs getting involved in esports, AFL, NRL, Manchester United?
For sure, they already are.
In what way?
Yeah, so you've got soccer teams in all over Europe who currently have already esports facilities in their home ground stadiums.
Okay.
You are seeing this happen in Australia at the moment, especially with the recent E-Series. You're starting to see those crossovers between...
Supercars did it, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
But you're also seeing the crossover of in F1 as well.
Yeah.
There's a number of different crossovers. I mean, esports typically lends itself to music and sports, I find, as the two crossover industries.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, we're getting towards the end of our time together. Is there anything more you'd like to share with us that we haven't had a chance to cover about the ecosystem, your journey, or where you're going next?
Oh, look, there's so much happening right now. And I mean, having a startup from a regional area is always a challenge in itself.
Yeah.
COVID has only kind of highlighted that more so, I guess, at the moment. Yeah, I don't actually have like a particular point for you.
That's fine.
I guess it's more just about overcoming those challenges and keeping on track if possible.
Okay. Well, I really want to thank you for your time. I'd imagine it's been an amazing journey from where you began to having to give up so much of your a sacrifice of being in Berlin for 4 months to grow this business to now being where you are now, where you're working your way through. You've got some equity investment. You're looking at a second round. Yep. An amazing journey, and thank you for educating me on this industry, which I can't believe I didn't know existed to the extent that it does. It's substantial and growing, and COVID, as you say, has been the perfect storm. So many more eyes on screens.
Well, it's created maybe 25% extra viewership.
Yeah.
And in the time of COVID, Twitch has actually grown something like 3.75 million new streamers.
Wow.
So people who are just starting to go, well, hey, maybe I'll give streaming a try, and starting to build their content. So it's great.
It's worthwhile. It's worthwhile knowing more about, immersing yourself a little in it, and then saying, is there opportunities for me in this industry? All right. I really want to thank Jackie, and I'm going to wrap up. And if you'd like to contact Jackie, then do so through us at the Business Centre, and we'll forward on your details. Okay, Jackie, we think we've developed an understanding of your time with us on esports and the new world that it is. If you want to find out more about the New South Wales Government Small Business Connect program, please Google that and find your nearest Business Connect provider and your local business advisor around the state. If you'd like to view more of the New South Wales Government Business Connect webcast on business disruption, go to our YouTube channel, just Google the Business Centre or go to YouTube and search for the Business Centre. We thank and acknowledge the New South Wales Government's Business Connect program in funding the development and the production of these small business disruption webcasts. Remember, you can register for the Business Connect program anywhere, and you can get some time with a fully subsidised one-on-one business advisor. Finally, I'd like to also again once thank Jono and Tom from the amazing team at Forwardtronics who have been able to provide this wonderful quality of webcast and using their technology in webcasting. And for the first time today, we cast across a number of other platforms, Instagram, Facebook. If you would like to talk with them or about implementing webcasting as part of your business model, or you'd like to access our site here and partner with us to do a presentation, please do so. But that's all for today. Thank you, Jackie. Thanks, everyone.